Welcome to another episode of Eberhart Outdoors. This one's going to be on cameras. I use Exodus cameras. They're easy for me. I'm not a tech guy, so I can handle the Exodus cell cameras really well. They're easy to use. I've had other ones that I couldn't figure out. I had to give them to my sons. Anyway, like even these Exodus solar panels, they came in black. You know, they're black when you get them. So I paint them. I paint them a grayish, and then if this is going to be exposed, typically I turn them this direction sideways, so they're less of a profile as opposed to being like this in a tree pointing up in the sky. You know, that's a bigger profile to see away from the tree. So I always turn them sideways because it doesn't take a whole lot of ambient light to keep these batteries charged, so you're not actually using the batteries in your cell cameras. So I always paint these. The cameras are already a camo, kind of a grayish camo, so I don't have to do anything with those. But I also paint the mounts. You know, these came black. These are Cranfords, but there's lots of companies that make these screw-in mounts. Okay, as you can see, there's a camera mounted pretty much at deer eye level, and a lot of people put up cameras like that. And it's very easy for a mature doe or a mature buck to see that. And usually when you have cameras set up at eye level, you're going to end up getting pictures of deer coming up to the camera and actually sticking their nose on it, sniffing it, and just looking at it because it's out of place, because it's at eye level. And also, even though I do have my solar panel turned upward, so it's still collecting light coming from above, you know, a lot of people will turn their cameras, or they may turn them like that so that they're pointing, because the sun's coming up this way, they're kind of pointing them at the sun. And when a deer's coming in from a lot of different directions, they can pick up that glare. I mean, that's very easy to notice, just like, you know, deer notice the glare on these when they're at eye level. So whenever I'm using this, no matter what height I put it, I always put it so it's like perpendicular to the tree. And that still picks up plenty enough sunlight or ambient light to charge the batteries in this. And again, the batteries in this are what are going to be running the camera. The batteries that are in the camera are only when these batteries go dead. That's when they use those. But typically, you can run a whole season strictly off the batteries in the solar panel, and the solar panel will run the camera all year. So this is at eye level, and as you can see, that's extremely easy to see for a deer walking through the area. They're going to pick that out big time. So what I do, and what a lot of other very experienced camera users and deer hunters use, is a stick with a single or a double aider to get your cameras up about 12 to 14 feet off the ground where they're out of a deer's peripheral vision. And again, even at that height, to keep the camera and the solar panel as small a profile as I can, I don't use straps. You know, a lot of these come with straps. A lot of cameras come with black straps, and typically the bark on a tree is either going to be a gray if it's a birch or a popple, you know, it's a light color. And even on oaks and stuff, they're kind of a darker gray or a darker OD green. So those black straps going around that tree that are usually 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide, they just stick out. You know, it's just something else for it to catch a deer's attention. And the less chance of catching a deer's attention, the less chance they're going to look at it and possibly compromise that area and not come by that camera anymore. So this is what they are at eye level. Here's the differences between a camera with a peg post going straight to the tree. It's painted kind of a grayish OD green, versus a camera using a black or a dark green strap around a tree. That's a pretty healthy visual difference right there, and depending on the type of area you hunt, something that simple can make a difference, especially if it's at eye level for a deer where it's in their peripheral vision when they're walking through the woods. I've had it happen myself once. I know 2 other hunters that have had it happen as well, where they put out cameras and a big buck was coming down a runway to the tree during season and saw the actual straps on the camera, black straps, every time it was black straps. It was me quite a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. and turned around and left. One of the guys it happened in Kansas on a 160-incher. Coming down a runway, saw that black strap, looked at that strap for about 5 seconds, turned around, just casually walked back away. And he was about 50 yards away when he saw it, and turned around and just left. The only reason it was for him to leave, and that was in Kansas, where that kind of stuff is usually acceptable to deer. So something as minimal a detail as this, having a black strap around a tree, can potentially cause a deer, a mature buck, with some senses, to turn around and leave. Where you hunt makes a difference. In pressured areas, Kansas is definitely not pressured where that happened to that guy. I know where he was hunting, but even a mature buck out there noticed that and left. And minor details like that make a difference. So if you have to use straps because you're on public, try to use straps that are a light green, or else put the cameras up high enough. Use a stick with a couple aiders and get those cameras up there about 12 to 15 feet up off the ground, and that way they're out of their peripheral vision. You know, it's kind of like walking out in the woods and putting out a ladder stand. You know, I can't even fathom hunting out of ladder stands because they're usually black and it's such a big visual. And you know, I've hunted on public land, and many times when I've had ladder stands within visual sight of me at 70, 80 yards away and nobody was in them, but I watched deer actually react to those ladder stands. Even though they were empty, I could see deer walking in that direction and look at the ladder, and their eye focus would go right up to the top to see if anybody was sitting in it. So it's a visual that's not normal to them, and because it's black and everything else in the woods is gray and light greens, for them to notice that and follow it up to the top. And black straps on cameras are not cool either. Yeah, probably 90% of the time you can get away with it, but you know, it's that couple of times during the course of your career that it's going to cost you, could possibly cost you a deer. And all those little details add up to a lot of missed opportunities in a career of bow hunting. I've done several videos on this. These are absolutely awesome aiders. They're made out of nylon, kind of a OD gray nylon, and he has steps at the base of each step, and they're equally spaced with the stick steps. So Noah does a fabulous job on making aiders, and he doubles them over, so you never have to worry about these cutting through with the sharp edges of this aluminum. He charges on the aiders, he charges $20 per aider, and then if you have a double aider on a stick, he charges an extra $15 for that extra step. So $35 for a double aider, $20 for a single aider. And he also sells the sticks. He sells Tethrd stuff, so he sells saddles. You can actually order an ESS from him and tell him, I want it modified, before you even send it. He's the same price as Tethrd is online, so you can order it from him and have it modified when you get it. Or same with the sticks. You can order Tethrd Skeletor sticks or Tethrd One sticks. You know, they come in sets of 3s or 4s, and when you get them, they're going to already have the aiders and everything put on them. And his phone number, just in case you're interested, I've got it posted on several videos, is 989-506-0721. 989-506-0721. And no, I do not get a kickback from these. I just think he does such a phenomenal job, and it's so much easier to use an ESS when it's modified, and he does such a phenomenal job on sticks and making these location prep pouches. I think it's a value to the hunter. So normally when I'm hanging cameras, it's prior to season, so I'm head to toe in scent lock, so I'm not leaving any human odor. And in Michigan, I don't put cameras at my locations very frequently, but when I do, when I set them up, no matter where they're at, I will take my saddle. So Noah modified my saddle, you know, to make it super easy to put on and walk in and climb trees with. And Noah also put the aiders on my one sticks. I painted my one sticks because they're kind of a goldish color, and I don't like to use any kind of fabric on them because fabric holds odor. And odor's not cool if you're trying to be scent free. I think they're the easiest sticks on the market to use. You just, on the bottom stick, it's real easy, and you make one total wrap around this little rectangular with the slots. You make one wrap, and then you just slide those in there like that, and that's done. That is locked into place. I take my lineman rope off, wrap it around the tree. Climb up to where you want to get. Depending on where you want to point the camera, they don't have to be screwed in all the way. Screw the camera on, point it to wherever it needs to go. Now, because that's south, I want to put this mount where that's going to be on the south side of the tree, because that's typically where the sun comes up southeast, sets in the southwest. These are Cranfords, so they screw in real easy. And again, I painted these so that they blend in with the color of the bark. There's a screw-in mount on the back, as well as screw-in mounts on the bottom. You can put them in either direction. And once I get it where I want it, I bring it as tight to the tree as I can and kind of have it going south. But I want it facing up so that the sun and the deer at a distance can't see that glare off that glass on the top of that solar panel. And then that's basically it. Now, if you take your cell camera with you, which I did not do, from the tree, if you take your cell camera and place it over the flat part up here at the top, on pretty much any camera there's going to be a flat area, and then turn your camera on your cell phone and turn it backwards so it's pointing towards where you want the pictures to be taken, you can actually look at the screen of your cell phone and then turn the camera, adjust the camera so that the picture on your cell phone is exactly where you want the picture taken when deer pass by that location. So obviously this is a lot lower profile, because I think in that camera angle you can barely see the ground, but you can tell this is much, much higher up the tree, so it's out of a deer's peripheral vision. You know, you want to keep everything as out of their vision as possible, and also there's no straps going around it, and also they're going to be somewhat the same color as the tree. It's not going to be a black camera against a gray tree or a black solar panel against a gray tree. All those little details matter, especially if you're hunting in a heavily pressured area where deer pay attention to everything, which most guys in the country are doing. That's a little thing on cameras, getting them up as high off the ground as possible. I think 14 feet's plenty. I can't remember in the last 3 years since I've been using a stick with double aiders, I can't remember having a deer looking at my camera. When I had them on the ground at eye level, or even, you know, even 8 or 10 feet up as high as I could reach, deer were looking at them all the time. And there were times in Michigan where I'd get one picture of a good buck, and I'd never get that buck on that camera again. He knew it was there, and he would shy away from it. I'm not saying he didn't go by the area, but he would not walk in front of that camera. The does and subordinate bucks, yeah, they'd still go by and they'd walk up to the camera and look at it. I get pictures, you know, every few days of the same deer with their nose damn near stuck on the camera. But mature bucks, no. They're 3.5 years old or older and in a heavily pressured area they've been shot at before, and they know anything that's out of place is somewhat of a threat to their existence, so they shy away from it. I think you get the idea of how much higher these are than, heck, when I had it mounted before, they were below my feet. They were about where that bottom metal step is on the stick. So these are considerably higher. They're 6, 7, they're about 8 feet higher. And I probably had them at 6 feet before, so they're about 14 feet up. And you could probably even reach up here a little bit higher if you wanted to, but 14 feet's plenty. I haven't had, as I said, I haven't had any issues. Thank you, and that's all I wanted to show on this video is using a cell camera and mounting it up out of a deer's peripheral vision. I think it's very, very important. If interested, the links to many of the podcasts I've been on, or for information about my 2-day whitetail workshops that take place in March and April, please visit my website at deer-john.net. Thank you for watching another episode of Eberhart Outdoors, and to receive notifications for future videos, please subscribe.